Welcome. Today for casual conversations on education, we have with us Hanna Usova. Hello, Anna.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Anna is an expert in the field of education. She's a curriculum developer, a course producer, an education manager, and a researcher in the field of education. And our director has met you when you presented your research on private education in Ukraine. And I think your presentation was so insightful that we reached out to you so that you can come to share with us and our network more of your experience in general and of your research in particular. So thank you for saying yes to this conversation.
Thank you. And if you remember, we initiate our conversation from my comment about regarding of Freedom Index of Education. Yeah, it's about Ukraine and that data of Ukraine it's been highly inaccurate since it's impossible to gather data under the warm condition.
Yeah.
And I say that a large-scale research is not conducted, and part of our territory is occupied, and many people have left the Ukrainian and other reason. And then I understood that this picture is understandable to me, but my colleague and another other researcher don't get this big picture of situation in Ukraine. And my research connect with parent choice and parent decision to continue educational process in Ukraine during the war. They have many opportunity to go abroad, to go to another country, the safety place with their children and so on. But they came back to Ukrainian during last year, and I tried to understand these factors, why they do it. And when I try to explore the situation, I understand that this big picture of a situation in Ukrainian in the field of education is not so clear for people in another country, because of course news said about damage, about air alarms, about air attacks, but not about culture process or educational process.
Mm-hmm.
And as for me, it's like a little mission to try to explore this picture, maybe in general terms, to understand all situation like in big picture, yeah, and not so details. So my research is my first step of realization of my mission, and I have a big plan to continue this process for another schools, because we start from the schools I work in. It was private schools in Kiev, in the capital of Ukrainian, and it was like a case study. It's only for 200 peoples and not so many families, but we researched it like very closely. We was a part of this community. And nowadays, I want to share this experience and share my methodology of this work into another region, because it's depends of situation in some part of Ukraine. Of course, it depends on the decision of these parents.
Okay. Wow. I definitely want to ask more about your specific research and what you found in terms of, yeah, especially the reasons why. That's the bigger question. Why do parents come back with their children? But then also how do they choose, no? But first, maybe let's go back a bit, like in the big picture. So 2022, February, the full-scale war begins. And of course there's a lot of people flee right away. So from what you've seen, what was the global impact of the start of the war, especially what I mean is especially in view of the migrant flows that came from that and what that meant for education of the refugees, for them and the neighboring countries.
Okay, let me try from some data or facts, because February 22 is the start of big scale, but it's very hard to understand that this February 24th, it will be the 2 years since full-scale war. in the center of Europe. It's a normal country, a very innovative country. And nowadays, 26% of country's territory is under occupation. And the active front line stretch from 1,500 kilometers. And rocket attacks reach all our territory, not only the front line. And so even at Western region, people take shelter when air alarm are sounded. And over the past 2 years, more than 3,700 educational institutions have been damaged, and more than 300 completely destroyed.
Wow.
And about people, approximately 8 million people have left Ukraine, and around 5 million have been internally displaced like from one region to another region. And it's a hard situation, real, and we are in it. And maybe during the next 5 or 10 years, we will have opportunity to reflect or react for this situation. But nowadays we are in it, and we try to gather some information. For example, about your question about of global context. My first thing about forced migration, migrants of these people, and maybe it's not so correctly say that it's another type of migrates. For example, Ukrainian people are very highly educated. A lot of them English-speaking people. A lot of our children can continue education in English-speaking countries, and it's for 1 year after migration they adapt in new countries, and some of women could work and could improve their skills and so on. And a few points connect with this situation. It's firstly establishment of adaptation classes in many countries. Adaptation classes, this is classes focus on language learning or this country, but we say about these classes in the during 2022 year, but after 1 year of schooling, a lot of children are transferred of regular classes. So Ukrainians became a part of community, and they are very actively integrated. And it's a big part of impact of global context with their behavior, their traditions, their experience, and so on. The second part of impact, it's about Ukrainian schools. For example, in Lithuania, 2 additional branch of Ukrainian international schools have been opened. Ukrainian international schools, it's like Ukrainian government schools with Ukrainian diplomas, Ukrainian curriculums, and it's like with supporting with the Lithuanian government, but it's a very big school. And there are so many else private initiatives and with very little funding sources. For instance, the foundation Unbreakable Ukrainian, I very love it foundation, they have opened 3 schools, 3 big schools in Poland, and they have a big plan to open 10 more schools this year.
Oh wow!
It's Ukrainian schools, with Ukrainian English, with Ukrainian language, Ukrainian history, Ukrainian tradition, and so on. So it's a big impact for Western Europe. And about Ukrainian language worldwide, for example, and maybe one more thing, it's about World Online Schools. In the start of full-scale war in Ukraine, they often provide free access for Ukrainians, and like in the part of support Ukraine. And of course, it's an informal education, not formal, but it's actively developing in Ukrainian. In my opinion, they have a big impact for educational freedom index of education, because it's not governmental institution. It's about very free choice in Yeah, and not only children, it's for adults too.
Okay.
So it's maybe reasons, 3 points to about impact in the global
Yeah.
context.
Okay. Yeah. Oh wow. Okay. And so that was so now you talked a bit about the global impact, know how the schools, let's say, adapted outside of Ukraine. Now let's look inside. How, because there's still schools working, of course.
Oh
Can you
yeah.
tell us about the adaptation of the education to the war conditions in the different parts of the country? Because of course also
Yeah.
that differs. And which, or like which of those adaptation tools and mechanisms do you think might be even applicable to other countries?
Yeah, okay. As I told before, we have maybe few reasons to adapt. Few main factors. Yeah, it's a rapid displacement of children, and it's a process connect with documentation process and flexible adaptation program. The second, it's impossibility of conducting offline education in some territories.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's about high level of stress.
Mm-hmm.
It's a factor of cognitive abilities, of learning process, of all the part of participants in education, as parents, teachers, and of course, children. And maybe we have a lot of strategy to adapt, and maybe I try to explore some key adaptation. Firstly, it's about developing of online learning.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, during COVID times, the whole world became in it, in online education method. And but in some regions of Ukraine, we have 2 additional years in online classes. Where it is the south of Ukraine and east of Ukraine, because there are places there are the most rocket attacks. There are not enough shelters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and nowadays, during all the years of war, they learn only online. What impact of this situation? The first, our Ukrainian teacher very skillfully in the tools such as Zoom, Class Dojo, Microsoft Teams, etc. And we have classes for teachers, courses for teachers about new tools, new interactive format of education, and so on. It's so innovative. It's so highly a process, like because you need to use new and new instruments because you have online education during 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a problem. The next impact point, it's about schools sometimes ordering or developing online platforms for materials
Mm-hmm.
for CRM system, new system. Its impact maybe in IT sphere in our country, but for example, in my experience, Finnish platform Planet and a very big developer, Corizoid, were very open to private initiative to use their capabilities.
Okay.
So normal little private schools or governmental schools use so innovative tools, so useful tools, so useful platform.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's a new experience for regular schools, yeah. And sometimes there are also use local development, and so it's like a support to development company for this process, yeah, for create new instrument, new tools for schools and so on. So we have like a win-win situation
Yeah.
for some IT corporation and the schools.
Yeah.
It's about learning online. And maybe the second group of K of adaptation, it's about design our lessons, uh, working in shelters and working in conditions without electricity.
Mm-hmm.
A few maybe words to explore situation. In Ukrainian, we haven't a lot of purpose-built shelters. Often there are like adapted or renovated basements. So under the first floor, under the ground floor. And during air raids, all students, all teachers, all other staffs immediately play there. And air alerts can last like 30 minutes, 1 hour, even 4 hours. So it's very difficult to work in shelters because it's one like open place, open space for all our schools. Okay, sometimes school have some develop some new construction in this place, but a lot of situation when we have only basement with some carpets or some chairs, so on, for all school. So it's quite noisy. It's often scary because it's not just change a place. It's a refuge during danger. And it should be noticed that our children may worry for their parents. They may feel uncomfortable because of the noise. And it's some type of space, like a confined space in underground. So it's a hard part of our work. It's not every day, but it's very highly repeated. And so what impact of this situation? Ukrainian teachers are very real. They create so many art activities. Art is because to relax, to take calm and so on. And they actively share their ideas on social networks. And we have so many groups, so many chats to use these activities, to use some preparation, material, groups, materials, and so on. Many teachers use like individual tasks because it's very effectively to work individually when you have a big part of pupil in the same time, the same place. Yes, so it's a part of individual trajectory of educational. So it's not a bad moment. During the period when we haven't electricity, we have teacher can use like touchable task, tactile task, or maybe oral discussion. So that's another type of works, but they have flexible planning of learning, because when you have electricity off, you connect your lesson with another situation, with another forum, or so on. And maybe it's the biggest achievement, maybe impact. It's our flexibility in lesson planning. Maybe it's not very adequate situation, but we are very flexible. And of course, this situation is during 4 2 years. And we have like new tradition, new rules for shelter, new system for work in shelter, because it's became a normal situation in Ukrainian to use a shelter. And maybe like a signal or significant of this moment, for example, when I thought about our interview today, I remind that Ukrainian psychologist Svetlana Royce create a song with like Ukrainian music band about shelters, about rule in the shelters. And in this song, this remind children to useful self-calming practices. And it's very useful song for my students. In my experience, my students know the song and they try to repeat these words to go to shelter when in the process of go shelter. And I could send you the link for this music, because it's a very interesting moment when it's a song like a rule and practice and a good reminder for children how could they be not happy but calm in the shelter, in the process of education in shelter.
Oh wow! Oh yeah, that would be great if you could share that, and then I will also add it in the description of the
Okay.
video. Oh wow!
Okay.
I mean, it's really inspiring. Also, just the way you talk about the teachers and their innovation and their creativity and their resilience. How are the teachers? Like how do you see them? Is there Are they? Do you see people resigning many because it's just too much, or is there a sense of mission? I feel like I see that a lot in you as well. You have the sense of mission. Okay, I'm here for a reason and this purpose. How do you
Yeah,
split the
a
team?
lot of teachers have this mission
Yeah.
because somebody who very hard feels this situation who could go abroad. Our women could go abroad, so sometimes they connect with schools from online learning, but they be in another country. So a teacher in Ukrainian, of course, have a mission, but one of our foundation, or I have a notes about them, Save It Foundation, they present a big study about impact of 2 years of education, and they have their respondents was teachers and administrator of teachers, and they told about key challenges of education, and they the top of these challenges, it was power outage. 84% say about it. A lack of live communication because it's online communication. It's 61%, and access to the internet. We have this problem with in South and East region. It's 40%, and technical difficulties in 25%. So additionally, more than 44 teachers reported an increase of workload, real workload, because it's not, I'm not saying that it was easy. It's a very
No, of
difficult
course,
process.
yeah.
Yeah, we are brave, we are resilient, but it's a real difficult process. And of course, we are tiring very because we believe in our win. But nowadays we understand that war continue and more, and we need like a superpower to continue our work. But maybe I can continue talk about adaptiveness. And the second group that I want to tell you, it's about communication. It's connect with your question, because when I spoke to a lot of colleagues from Europe, I understood that it's not a traditional type of communication in the Europe. Maybe in USA or Canada, I don't know, but in Ukrainian, we have this type of communication, like very open, very promptly, very quickly. And it's it had a big impact for our force majeure situation nowadays. And for example, in this condition, using email in the official communication is not rational. It's so long process. So many schools use messenger chat to like a main communication channel for parents.
Okay.
If you understand the impact of the situation, yeah. And they inform about when the students go on to the shelters, it's about safety, or when some online classes cancel it. It's the teacher also communicate in messenger and in social networks. So it's a new type of communication real. It's not only official big letters for parents, it's real quickly in reality, and very closely, very warm. And when I create my research, one of my hypotheses was that clear and promptly communication, transparent communication, one of the main factors to return our family from abroad, because it's about resilience. It's about believing in big our futures and so on. But few point of this group of K adaptation and about impact. It's about creation of children or class groups chat. And when adults can not only answer question, but also provide psychological support.
Yeah.
In my opinion, my school, it was 24/7 real, when any of students can ask your very different question, and you answer them and understood that it's not about information, it's about support.
Yeah.
Next type is that's creating channel and or social networks group for parents from the school. So it's about prompt communication. It's about community creation, maybe this one, but not about some distance from parents, but about like closely, deeply communication. And of course, it's mastering of methods of delivery, sending information. For example, using CRM system, using social networks, using some and other tools to send this information, because email is not rational, and maybe some letters, writing letters, of course, is not one. So it's if you ask me about lesson for another schools or another region, the first of them, it's about type of communication.
Yeah.
Maybe review a communicational scheme, optimize it, and maybe ask them whether it should be made more lively and supportively. Maybe
closer, no? Like
yeah, and maybe they try to use to think about who will communicate if something unusual happens, and how will all participants stay in touch in an unusual situation. Because in our country, we have answer of this question nowadays. And we have this not protocols, but scheme of any schools, what we can do in this situation, that situation, and so on. And maybe one more lesson is about flexibility. Of course, review the curriculum for flexibility.
Yeah.
Because what will happen if the program of some hours of the program changes? How will children who missed some big part of program connect or be in touch in the normal class or regular class? And how can we become flexible and teach our teacher to be flexible in planning, in everyday planning? Maybe it's a new opportunity for in normal situation. It's not about work condition, but flexible in new type of learning, new situation of learning, in the post-informatical world. About critical thinking, and so many questions about this moment. But flexibility of curriculum is very, very hard process, but very hard, difficult. But I say that I thought that it's a lesson from Ukrainian to all over the world. And maybe the third lesson, tools. Teaching tools. For example, in online learning, it's not about lecture in Zoom. It's about interactive learning, and what other forms we can use. We can or tool can help us, and not only this level, but how will we teach our teacher to use them when we teach our teacher. So, of course, in Ukrainian, we have to have it. We haven't any opportunity to don't did it. But in peace part of the world, you can plan teaching, learning new tools, and it's a very improvmental tools for education.
Okay, I think that's very practical what you say now about the communication, like the more prompt communication about flexibility of curriculum and the teaching tools. Okay, interesting. Thank you. You mentioned before the parents, and that also goes back to what you mentioned at the very start about that part of what influences their choice of school when they come back to Ukraine is the communication they have with the school, for example. Now, you made a big case study, research on the topic of returning families. And in your research, what have you found about the parents' choices of educational institution during wartime? So one factor is that what we just mentioned. What are other factors that influence that parental decision?
Um, the second factor is their understanding of comfortable life for the students, for their children.
Mhm.
Because when the world is uncertain and you have a new reality, you try to find one more thing, one more part of your life that could be the same as in your last time.
Mhm.
So sometimes it's so hard to adapt to new country, to new tradition, to new society, and so on. And they came back, uh, discuss our dangerous situation, but to create the same learning situation for their children.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, and as for me, it's not was so big surprise, but surprise because in the list of factors, the safety and question about eats food, yes, this man in the 17th or 18th places, but not the first, not the
Yeah.
top, the top of the list. But communication, decision of school, like a type of brevity, because we are patriots, all, all of us, a lot of us. So when schools make decision about continue educational process offline method, they build shelters, they create a new protocol for safety and so on. The parents understood that it's like a step for a future, and then came back from abroad to connect with this mm, point of society. Yeah, this believing in our winning and so on.
Mhm.
So it's maybe it's this third three main factors for our parents.
Oh wow. Okay. Maybe also if you allow me, I will also share your research
Okay, okay,
in
I'll send
the
you.
the
Yeah, of
video
course.
notes to for people that are interested because I know there's more to discover of what you found as well. Um,
Yeah, and when I wrote its articles, it's a case study, so it's not like a very science article with so
mhm.
many dates,
Mhm.
but so many question and answer for real parents.
Yeah.
And maybe you would like to read this real words in their real understanding.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. What is and maybe to conclude, you said okay, you did now that research as part of your mission. For you, what is your next step on your mission?
Mm, well, maybe I'll try to write. Uh, like in our interview, I'll write in English some conclusion of and it's this big picture, maybe with some links or some picture with the school. Because when I told you about some schools or shelter, I think you don't imagine a real picture of working in this shelter.
Mhm.
So maybe it's will be like an popular article, not science article, but
Yeah.
popular article with some part of videos, some part of course, links and some photos
Mhm.
to help people to get this picture, to combine this picture and understand what what a real situation in Ukraine.
Mhm.
And of course, I continue my research in another schools and another region.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm sure that would be it would be I mean, it would be difficult to see, but it would be appreciated to have a better understanding of what really is going on. Yeah. Before we close, is there anything else that you wanna say?
Oh, I'd like I thank for your attention because it's so difficult to me trying to explain it's like a normal word without so many emotion and my type because um, I'm not afraid of our future, but I believe in our big future. But nowadays we have so hard period for Ukrainian. In 3 days we have like a day as the start of the war, like an anniversary, not in a good saying, yeah, anniversary, and all our citizen of our Ukrainian. Uh, we are like in the start, like a flashback in this moment when you try to understand why why the situation connect with us, why how can we manage it, how can we win our war. So I thank you for attention in this day, during this day, because it's very important for me and
Yeah.
for Ukrainian.
No, of course. Of course. Thank you for your time as well and for your sharing your experience and for connecting. Maybe I should have said that at the start, but for connecting from Kiev. You're in Kiev right now.
Yeah, I'm from Kiev, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for taking the time and sharing that.
Thank you.
And hopefully see you soon. Ciao, ciao.
See you. Bye.